Okay, I'm waiting for the punchline.
Joaquin Phoenix recently turned heads with his portrayal of the Joker. Phoenix is now the second actor to play the iconic DC villain after the late Heath Ledger so memorably brought him to life in The Dark Knight. Both actors are iconic, as well as most of the actors who have tackled the character. But are they the best? We're inclined to believe that Mark Hamill may be the best Joker ever, and we'll do our best to convince you of that fact. From his laugh to his menace, he simply is the Joker. When it comes to the greatest villains of all time, whether it be in books, comics, or film, chances are Joker ranks pretty high on that list. The Joker first made his debut all the way back in Batman #1 in April 1940 for DC Comics, and would go on to become the prime nemesis for the Caped Crusader. That fact almost didn't become a reality, as the Joker was initially conceived only to show up in that one issue and would have met his untimely demise in that very same comic. Thank goodness that got vetoed, right? In those early days of the Joker, he was considered to be something more akin to a trickster and a thief. It wasn't until the late 50s and early 60s that things started to change. Joker went from being a trickster character to becoming more of a sociopath with a sinister nature. He would commit horrid acts of mayhem and violence simply because it made him laugh. But while Joker may have been a menace on the comic book pages, television was an entirely different matter. When it came time to bring the Joker to the living room of many homes and families, ABC wanted to ensure more people were watching the Batman show. As such, the production, which starred Adam West as the Caped Crusader, was very campy and full of slapstick humor and countless iterations of the "holy!" exclamation. Of course, if one is making a Batman TV show, you have to have his arch-rival, the Joker, involved. The first ever Joker to grace the screen was played by Cesar Romero. He played the clown prince of crime throughout all 3 seasons of the show, as well as the motion picture. The actor actually refused to shave off his signature mustache during the time, which resulted in the makeup department smearing the white paint all over his facial hair to hide it. Like the show, this Joker is known for being a bit more on the sillier side, a Saturday morning cartoon version of the character that was perfect for the daytime period, but perhaps doesn't do the character much justice these days outside of a fun laugh. Subsequent live-action portrayals of the character include Jack Nicholson's version in Tim Burton's Batman movie, the previously mentioned fan-favorite Heath Ledger version, the not-so-favorite Jared Leto version, and Joaquin Phoenix. All of them brought something new and different to the table, making Joker their own. Ledger disappeared into the character and chilled us to the bone while being unable to look away from him. Nicholson found a middle ground between camp and vile and chewed into it. Jared Leto did really bad during his minimal screen time in 2016's Suicide Squad. Joaquin Phoenix showed us the troubled and disturbed man underneath the makeup. But there's another actor out there who portrayed the Joker and quite often, unless one grew up watching his rendition of the character, gets sidelined because of the nature of the character. That nature, of course, is animation. Specifically, that found in Batman the Animated Series, which starred Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker. The animated series, for the record, is one of the best cartoons ever made and still holds up to this day for both kids and adults. Part of what makes the show so great, aside from the slick animation, are the actors. Despite being a cartoon from the 90s, the voice actor is on a whole other level thanks to the chops of the leads. While Conroy naturally carries the show as the titular Batman, many people think of the Joker when conjuring up memories of the show. Part of what makes Hamill's Joker so iconic and memorable is that he's most similar to the source material. Where the Leto version was the gangster and Phoenix was the mentally ill and disturbed man, Hamill's Joker is the man who loves violence for violence's sake and makes no excuses for the way he is. In other words, he's the most comic book accurate version of the character outside of the character. And Hamill's performance doesn't just extend to the animated series either. Despite being in a kid's cartoon and thus being heavily censored for the target audience, Hamill's Joker was a winner thanks to his maniacal laugh, on-point delivery, and zany antics. Thanks to being part of an after-school cartoon series, many kids watched and grew up with Hamill as the Joker. The Clown Prince is a pretty awful individual, but the show somehow found that middle ground between respecting the source material and also taming it in such a way to make it kid-friendly. The show also served as the introduction to Harley Quinn, and while their relationship is not something you should ever try to achieve in real life, he is pretty terrible to her. It was also a turning point for the character. By bringing Harley into the fold, we got to see Joker kind of care for someone other than himself. We use the word care somewhat loosely here, but before the show, it was Joker all day, every day. With Harley, Hamill got to express the Joker in a way that had never been seen before. This was uncharted territory. How do you make someone like Joker care for someone else and make it believable? The short answer is you don't, but that will they, won't they, should they, shouldn't they aspect helped elevate the Joker beyond a simple villain. Fans loved Hamill as the Joker for quite some time, to the point where, when it came time to voice the Joker in other mediums, Hamill was the one to call. The animated movies used Mark Hamill's voice, and when it came time to voice the Joker and Batman for the core Arkham Asylum video games, Conroy and Hamill were there. Unlike the animated series though, the video games could get a bit edgier than the kid-friendly cartoon of the 1990s. With a target audience of 13 and plus, the games could be a bit more intense with what the Joker would do and say, and also how he would react to his antics. We mentioned that the animated series was targeted towards kids thanks largely to the medium and the time slots it aired on, which was at 4:30 p.m. for the after-school slots on Fox. That all changed in 2016. This was the year when the animated movie The Killing Joke came out. Adapted from the comic of the same name, written by Alan Moore, this was a gritty, dark, R-rated animated film that unleashed the madness and sociopathic nature that is the true Joker. Not watered down by censors, Mark Hamill really got to dive headfirst into the character, who does some pretty heinous and terrible things during the runtime. They're so bad, in fact, that the movie heavily implies that the Joker finally breaks Batman, who joins in on the laughter and potentially finishes off the Joker once and for all. Dark stuff, but brought to life by the end monologue provided by Hamill and Conroy. The actors and studio knew that the audience who watched the animated series in the 90s had grown up, and so they could be more nuanced, calculating, and yes, brutal during this particular outing. The movie ends with maniacal laughing on Joker and Batman's part, which quickly transitions to just Batman. Speaking of laughing though, we can all agree that Mark Hamill has the best Joker laugh, right? One of the signature elements of the Clown Prince of Crime is his eerie, creepy, and unhinged laugh that pierces the night. Being a voice and not an on-screen presence, Hamill has to exaggerate his voice in order to give the Joker a bit of theatricality. He needed to deliver all of the proper emotions only through his voice, which is not an easy feat when you consider that it's the Joker we're talking about. So, with that laugh, it has to be extra loud, insane, and unhinged. But there's another caveat to Hamill's Joker laugh. His rendition sees the Joker being amused and entertained by his own antics. Joaquin Phoenix, for instance, does not share this trait. We think a close second to this is Heath Ledger's laugh, but Ledger benefited by being on set and having a human face to go with the laugh. Hamill had to give you that image while being in a recording booth. Knowing that there was no face, he knew his laugh, which had evolved over the mediums, had to be memorable and important. It also had range, much like a musical instrument. We understood how the Joker was feeling based off of what kind of laugh Hamill was delivering in which particular scene. We also have to talk about the reason for the laughter. Let's compare Hamill to Ledger again, because the late actor did such a fantastic job as the Joker. But he also made the Joker his own, as opposed to a direct adaptation of the source material. The Joker we saw in The Dark Knight is a bit of a pyromaniac and is a bit more reserved than his comic book counterpart. What do we mean by reserved? Let's take the boat hostage scene for example. Arguably, the source material Joker wouldn't have set up a scheme, but would have likely blown up the boats and just laughed about it before attempting it again. Likewise, Ledger's Joker only made a few jokes. A fun part of the Joker character is his constant joking around, and not just regular jokes, bad jokes, which he finds hysterical, of course. Now, that's not better or worse per se, but it is more in line with the source material, and for that, as a representation of the character, we also have to give Hamill an edge for capturing the spirit of an insane comic book character. It's not always easy to root for the villain, but with the Joker, part of you is there alongside with him for the ride. The better the Joker, the more insane the ride. There's one final reason as to why Hamill is the best Joker, and it's actually the most obvious one. He has been playing the clown prince of crime longer than anyone else. As of 2020, Hamill has had the role of the Joker on and off for 28 years. This includes 3 animated feature films, 5 video games, and 5 animated series. Considering the many years that he's had to tinker and modify the Joker to learn the character, we'd say that Hamill knows a thing or two about the Joker. In fact, we'd say without any doubt that Mark Hamill, with his sinister and expressive laugh, is the definitive Joker. Naturally, though, we'd like to hear your thoughts on the matter. Do you agree with our assessment that Mark Hamill is the best Joker? Or does someone else come to mind? What are the best qualities of a Joker actor, and why do you prefer one over the other? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this in your playlist every day. Thanks for watching!